So for those of you who are new or just joining us for the first time at one of our online meetings, welcome to the Austin Women's Investing Group. We are a dynamic and diverse group of women who enjoy getting together and talking about money, finance, and investing in a comfortable all-female setting. I'm Sara Glakas. I'm an investor. I'm a financial advisor and the founder of the Austin Women's Investing Group, and also the founder of Black Barn Financial, which is a registered investment advisory firm here in town. But AWIG actually came first. So just to kind of give you a little bit of background on the Austin Women's Investing Group, back in 2011, my friend Michelle sent me an email. This was before we were friends. So a person named Michelle sent me an email, and she had some questions about rebalancing her 401k. So we figured out that we were both in Austin. We got together for coffee. And at the end of this, 2-hour coffee that we had together, she said, I think there are other women who would like to get together and talk about these things. And I was like, really? Okay. And she's like, there's this new site, it's called Meetup. Why don't we just, see what happens and start the group? So she went and started the group, and that was back in 2011, March of 2011. We just had our 10-year anniversary, which is amazing. Now we have over 2,700 members, not just in Austin, but one of the positives that came out of COVID is, we really became not just the Austin Women's Investing Group, but we became like the worldwide investing group. We're so lucky to be able to have people join us from different states, different countries. And again, just kind of keeping with that original mission of getting a bunch of women together to talk about money. So if you are not already a member of the Meetup group, I encourage you to join there, because that's where you'll get the invitations and the event descriptions. Also, the follow-up emails go out through Meetup. We also have a private Facebook group where you can join us, and some amazing things have been happening on the Facebook group. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. We also have a YouTube channel where we've been able to post our videos to the YouTube channel. So if you miss a meeting, you can catch up on what we were talking about. And just kind of all of these things have really come together, like especially since the pandemic. A bunch of volunteers for this group. Lori Watts and Gwen Leonaris are here and kind of keep this whole operation moving forward, so we can continue to meet and get people the resources they need, as they're making these really important financial decisions. This is our end of year party. So Gwen's going to lead us through some fun slides. We have Colette Fitzgerald, who started this side group for Meetup about living and retiring abroad. So in a couple minutes, I'm going to ask her to describe that group and what their first meeting was like, and what everybody was discussing, because that's a topic that comes up all the time. And I just can't wait to hear more about it. While we're going through our discussion, please use the chat box, right? And so that's where you can ask questions, answer other people's questions, introduce yourself to the group, make hilarious jokes, whatever it is. So definitely use that chat box, because really fun conversations break out in the chat box. So we really like using that. One of the things that I always say before, sorry, I just got an echo in my ear. One of the things we always say before each meeting is nothing in this group is intended to be individualized investing advice. We are here to share our opinions and our experiences with each other. And we have never, ever had any sort of problem with that. We want this to be a comfortable space where you can ask all the questions and have a bunch of people who are willing to give you the answers and talk you through their own experiences. So without further ado, I think that we're going to start with Colette and introducing the kind of new side group, Live and Retire Abroad. So Colette, I can't wait to hear more about it. Take it away.
Right. Thank you, Sara. Oh, I love that screen. That's so cute. So yes, thank you, Sara and Gwen and Lori, for putting this all together. And also, Sara, I want to give you and Caitlin huge kudos for your podcast. I already listened to all 4 of the episodes that are out. So hilarious. It is hilarious and informative. So just want to give you props for that. So the Live
Women
and Retire Abroad group. So I just want to start by saying how amazing women are and how this whole thing just happened super organically on the AWIG Facebook group, and it's like, I can't even remember who said the first thing, but someone put it out there, and then it was like, everybody just kind of started adding on saying, I'm interested. And I've been kind of obsessed with this for the past couple of years. And so, the podcast, someone's asking, it's the, well, Sara can tell you, but it's Women on the Verge of a Financial Breakthrough is the name of it. And I'm sure you're going to talk about it, Sara. Okay, so living and retiring abroad. So it just kind of happened where people started piling on and getting interested, saying they were thinking about this. And I've been thinking about it for a couple of years. Like I said, kind of obsessed about it. We're, all things go well, the plan is that my husband and I are going to be able to retire early next year. And so we are really excited to just explore the world and hopefully maybe end up living somewhere else. Permanently, or maybe just for a year or two, we don't know. But the group was...
What's your country that you're targeting?
I mean, I think we're kind of between Portugal, Spain, and Italy. So we'll come visit you in France. But the group, our first meeting was on November 16th, and we had 4 extremely adventurous, awesome women join the group. And, it was really interesting because we were all at different stages in our financial and retirement journeys. So one person had already retired. And she's already thinking about where does she want to go. Like I said, I'll hopefully be able to retire next year. And then the other 2 were somewhere maybe in the 10, 15 year time frame, but they still want to, start thinking and planning and traveling and visiting. And if it can be sooner, great, right? So it's kind of interesting that we were in different stages, and all of us had lived in different places or at least traveled extensively already in different countries. So, what I kind of see the purpose of the group is really just sharing experiences, sharing information, maybe destination specific, and also more just general, like resources, where to go to find out general information about retiring abroad. And also just to inspire each other and dream together. We had it at Crew downtown, a little wine bar. So we're, drinking wine and eating appetizers and just kind of dreaming together, especially after, 2 years of COVID. I think we all are just yearning to get out there. So it was just a great conversation. I feel like we were there maybe 3 hours. I don't know. We were there a long time. And I know that it's hard. A lot of people wanted to come, and it's just so hard to find, the right time where everyone can come. So, like I mentioned in the Facebook group, our goal would be that this would be an ongoing group and that we could meet once a month or at a minimum once every 2 months, because I don't think we're going to meet in December just because of the holidays and everything. But I think, we even threw out some ideas of different places we could meet. We can meet sometimes in the north, sometimes south. One group member knows a winery owner, in Driftwood or something. She said we could go there. And so I think we're really flexible right now since we're brand new. We're really just kind of looking at what do we want to do as a group, and, when and where do we want to meet, and maybe I'm sure it will, kind of develop on its own. But right now, the way I see it is really just to share experiences and talk about what we know. You can read online, but I mean, there's nothing like just that personal experience that people, can share. So that's really what we did in our first meeting. And let me see, was there anything else I wanted to share? I think those were the main topics. I mean, I'd love for the group, of course, to be larger and grow, but it was kind of cool in a way that it was only 4 to begin with, because we really kind of got to know each other. But I do envision, of course, that it will grow, because the more people join, the more experiences and just the more perspectives we can all share with each other. So we'd love to have more people. I know we are not only an Austin group anymore. And so that's another thing. I'd love to find a way to have some virtual participation as well. So yeah, I mean, everyone's welcome. And I guess we need to figure out the best way to make sure everyone knows. I didn't know that I could actually create like a meetup group on our meetup, like that we're all part of, because I'm not an administrator. So I wasn't sure I could do that, but I tried it and I think it worked. So I will get better. I will get better at like knowing, like getting the word out there. Here's the time and place, and sending reminders and all that. This first one was kind of, let's see if this works, But yes, I'd love to make it, everyone's invited and make it a little bit more an actual formal group now, as like you said, kind of a little side group of Austin Women's Investing Group. So that's it.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I love everything about it. And so much about your group is like how like the original Austin Women's Investing Group goes, where we just try things and see what happens, right? And so as you were talking, I think that, and you let me know, Colette, if you think this would work to have like a monthly topic, like one of our 12 monthly meetings be on this topic, so we can get like the whole group introduced to it, and then it would kind of feed into those of you who really want to meet more often, have like a, the in-person meetings or the virtual meetings going. Because what I love about the topic that you alluded to is it's so goal oriented, right? That if this is your goal and this is your passion, that's such an amazing way to organize the financial decisions that you're making, right? It's a way to really like hone in on something that's really special and really personal to each person, right? And then being able to do that with a group of like-minded investors is just like, it's so lovely. So thank you so much for taking the initiative to get these, get the event going and finding the place and setting the time. And we will certainly do everything we can to support the group. And, as other people are thinking through, like if they also have like their own passion project that would loop into the larger group, I think this is like a great way to launch the idea, right? For everybody. So
thank you. Thank you. No, I love that idea. If we could do one of the monthly topics for AWIG overall as this topic, that would be amazing. And I would be happy to contribute as much as possible. I mean, like I said, I've been obsessed with it, so I feel pretty knowledgeable, but I know there's other women in this group that are also extremely knowledgeable. So we could all kind of collaborate and I think make a pretty good presentation.
Yeah, I love that. Great. If anyone has questions for Colette, I think you can probably drop them into the chat and we'll make sure that she sees them. Or, reach out to us and we'll, connect you. But this is like where this all happened on the Facebook group, right? So again, for those of you who are not members of the Facebook group yet, go ahead and, if you're on Facebook, kind of meet with us there, because these little side discussions and side questions break out all the time. And it's really, really interesting. And for those of you who are not on Facebook and don't have any intention to be on Facebook, I think having an event go through Meetup to loop those people in would be a really good idea. So, and Lori just popped the Facebook group into the chat box. So we will, as admins, kind of, approve you as soon as we can. We do keep it, the Facebook group, I think we try to keep it all women, and we try to keep it as investing and financially focused as possible to kind of fit in with the mission of the group. But, we also are really trying to make it a place where as many people as possible can share what's on their mind or, ask questions on kind of like a pretty broad range of topics. So I think it's been going pretty well so far. And thank you for all the people who are the admins on the Facebook group. I mean, there's sometimes a lot going on. day of the group. And so we all kind of, pitch in to administer it as efficiently as possible. So thank you, everyone, on that note. All right, Gwen, what do we have going? What's the next part of our agenda?
Okay, so as y'all all saw in the agenda, we are also going to ask Sara to give a market update, but that will be at the end. So now we're going to move into just a really quick year in review so we can sort of see what AWIG has done in 2021. Let me move this slide. Okay, so a quick year in review. We had all of these really amazing topics and these really amazing guest speakers this year. You can kind of see we sort of ran the gamut. January and February were Sara, investing in stocks and investing for beginners. I think we find that a lot of members really like to start the year off, thinking about resolutions and financial goals for the year. And these are really good topics for the beginning of the year. And then in March, we had Sandy with mindset and money management. Sandy is a budgeting nerd and totally nerded out, and it was amazing to see and had all of her Excel sheets and things like that. So I think people really enjoyed that one. We did a Q&A for folks in April. In May, we talked about sustainable investing and ESGs with Casey Swartz, which got some people thinking about even, thinking about their banks and thinking about the ways that they move their money around and how sustainable is that. We had some really interesting discussions in our meetup messages after that. In June, we talked about love and money in Texas with Catherine Saint-Louis, which is always a super, super important topic. In July, Lori took us through paying for college and what she found from researching 529s and different options like that. In August, we had our Medicare Superwoman, Michelle Fibus, take us through navigating Medicare 101, a really dense and complicated topic, but that's exactly what we tackle here in AWIG, is just these really difficult topics that when you go through them with people over and over again, you start to be able to untangle that for yourself. In September, we did an end of summer market update with Sara again. In October, we did what to do with all that home equity. So a very relevant topic for a lot of homeowners in Austin. And Manisha Gupta and Annabelle Gall took us through that. In November, Ashley Brinkman did a midweek, we did a Wednesday evening meeting, which was really cool. And she talked about strategies and success with short-term rentals. And then this month is our holiday party. So as you can see, we've covered a lot this year, which is cool. And then just a quick update. This is just from the members on Meetup, so I haven't checked the numbers on Facebook, but in 2021 so far, I've had to update this twice since I made the slides the first time. I went to check and I had to admit 2 new people, so it was 516, and then as of this morning, it was 518 members on Meetup in 2021, which is amazing.
I'm just going to kind of go through this disclaimer language just so it's on the recording, right? None of this, past performance is not indicative of future results, yada, yada, yada. There's a bunch of slides and it's burned through. Maybe come back to that one. But I wanted to come to this relationship between price and earnings, because I think that this slide specifically gets to the heart of the matter when we're talking about the stock market. So what we're seeing here is the gold line is S&P 500 earnings. Earnings, another word for earnings is profits. Earnings are the fundamental underpinning of the stock market, the price of the stock market. Earnings, and or profits are what's left over at a company once everybody else gets paid. So as an investor, as an owner of a company, you have a claim on those earnings after everyone else gets paid. So that earnings number is really, really important. The gold line is showing actual earnings reported by S&P 500 companies going back to, I think this is 1988. And then, like what we'll talk about more in January, these little gold boxes, there's one gold box for 2021 and there's another gold box for 2022. these are forecasts for earnings going forward, with the general idea being, if you have some idea where profits are going in the future, you have some idea as to where the price of the stock market is going in the future. So this idea of being able to figure out, and it doesn't have to be, I don't think it has to be with like a really high level of certainty. It's more like understanding the relationship between the price changes of the stock market. So like the S&P 500 going up and down over time. And that's the white line here. It's the price of the S&P 500. So we can see that the price of the stock market is going up and down over time, but it tends to track the gold number, which is earnings. So when people ask the question, like, well, what's the stock market going to do in 2021? Or sorry, 2022? You can't really have a very good forecast for that unless you have some idea as to whether earnings are going to grow or shrink or go sideways. So we talk about this like going back, we talk about this basically every time we talk about the stock market. And so those of you who've been with the group for a while, hopefully can remember having these discussions. The most intense discussion that we had was kind of March, April, May of 2020, when nobody had any idea what earnings were going to be like in a pandemic economy. And we saw that uncertainty reflected in the stock market. The stock market fell precipitously and then it bounced back. Going forward, if we assume that things are a little bit more normal going forward, it does become important to think like, okay, how are companies doing? Like, are they making money? If they are they making more money than they did last year? Is there a reason to expect that they'll make more money or less money in 2022 or even into 2023? Because that discussion then immediately ties back into, okay, should you be buying stocks at or near all-time highs? Does that make sense? Are we in a bubble? Are we not in a bubble? Is this a buying opportunity? Is it not a buying opportunity? And that's kind of in the short term, but I think it also sets up a really good discussion for stocks for the long term. Because while I think it's interesting to think about the way the stock market moves in the short term, if we look at this chart, you can just eyeball that the gold line of earnings and profits tends to go up over time. Not every year, right? But it tends to go up over long periods of time. So if when you're thinking about the stock market, thinking about it in the short term is overwhelming or you're just not interested, we can come back to this chart and be like, well, let's say you have 10 years. Do you think that companies are going to be profitable in 10 years' time? Are they going to be profitable in 20 years' time? And if the answer is yes, and if the answer is you have that long to wait, you can still make the case that it's good to own stocks for the long run, because that's how we end up with higher rates of return over time. So I think going in, like, this goes back to my question about supply chain, right? Like, does the way the supply chain is impacting you as consumers and or business owners, does it impact your demand for goods and services into 2022, or is it just delaying it, right? And so, like, hearing your feedback as to what you're actually doing to cope with the supply chain issues is really, really informative. And so that's like, so I'm excited now to kind of go back and rework these slides and think about these boxes for projected earnings. Certainly in the stock market, like, the stock market lends itself to greed and fear, right? Like, you get scared about stuff. You're scared that the stock market's going to fall. You get greedy because you want it to keep going up. And it does seem like 2022 is like, this is where greed and fear are like colliding at right this very moment, right? Like, and I'm just really interested, like, in our January discussion, asking you all what you think about the stock market in general, investing in general, the way that you are spending money, your own financial stability and the financial stability of people around you. And so we'll be able to hopefully use that to have a really good discussion about what we think about stocks going forward, and if they have a place in your portfolio, and if they do, how large is that place in your portfolio? So I'm going to kind of stop there. I know that didn't end up being super detailed, but it's coming. So we'll definitely talk about that more in January. Okay, I'm going to stop my share now. All right. All right.
Hey Sarah, I think it would be interesting to see, if I remember correctly, like there was like a meeting, and it may have been last year, where we did the poll, where you opened it up, and like I think that it was like a 2-part question. I think the latter part was, what do you think may impact the stock market in the upcoming year? And I think did people say like Wi-Fi, like what's the latest and greatest? Not Google.
Oh, 5G.
Yeah, that was one.
Yeah.
Like it'd be cool to kind of looking back to see what everybody was forecasting for the future, to see what it is. Like, were we right?
I know. I mean, we were right about in February of 2020, if any of you were there at the library, where the New York Times came and took pictures of us. And the biggest risk in our word cloud, well, it was either the biggest or second biggest, was coronavirus in February of 2020. I think the other biggest risk was like Trump or something, right? Or like Democrats winning, but like if you look back at that 2020 word cloud, it brings back a lot of weird memories. But yes, I love like doing those polls, because I think like as like a mind hive, the people in this group are really savvy, right? And, if you can take your own experiences and kind of compare it to the experiences of other like normal people around you, we're all just in the world, like trying to make good money decisions. Like when it comes down to it, we're all doing our best. And when we can combine all of that, like through those polls, I just think like really interesting stuff comes out. So thank you, Shannon, for bringing that up. Like, I really hope we can do that again. And I love the idea of like looking back through time to see like the results of previous polls over the years.
It may have been 2 years ago, because we may have done it like in person, where we texted through our phone.
Yeah. We'll pull all of those. That would be fun. Awesome, you guys. This has been this group like feeds my soul in a way that nothing else does. And thank you to everyone for sharing your experiences over the year, all of the amazing benchmarks you've hit, and goals that you've set, and decisions that you've made. It is so important to share those things in a group, because we're all inspired by it. And we all like are with you and here as a resource. So as we go forward into 2022, just know that you are not alone, that we are here, and that we're going to have an awesome calendar in 2022. And tell all your friends, tell all your sisters and your moms and your daughters and your aunts, everybody. Tell everybody to join the group, because the more of us that are here having this discussion, the more powerful the group becomes. That has just become evident over the 10 and a half years we've been doing this. So thank you all so very much. I'm going to give you like all a round of applause.
We have to give each other a round of applause. All the people who paid off their debts. Yay!
Yes. Oh,
all the
everybody should unmute.
All the people who did like first steps and got into a market or an account. Yay! Who moved here to Austin? That's brave to move in the middle of a pandemic. And everybody who just kept marching forward, doing the best they can.
Yes.
Yay!
Thank you,
everybody, for coming. This was so fun.
So fun. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in January.